Larry, welcome into the Lucky Orange Show. Thanks for joining me today.
Hey, Sean. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Good to chat. So a lot of the focus of Customers.ai is finding those fish that get away, as you said, and helping to enhance and accelerate your funnel. And when people think about their funnel, they start to think about all these key metrics that exist from top to bottom. And how do you think people should understand the deliverability and conversion rate expectations within their funnel?
Sure. These benchmarks do vary from industry to industry, and depending on kind of like the sales cycle and what you're selling and how people react to that. An easy place to begin in terms of benchmarking, we're talking about email kind of funnels, would be to look at past performance, because generally it's the case that you're going to have I don't know, weekly emails going out, and of course some of them will do better, and some of them will do worse, and you'll kind of get an average of what those open rates and engagement rates are, and basically what you're looking for is just like meaningful changes from that average. Like if something is either really really good or that means that there's something special about that email. Like if your list is more than 1,000 people, then you've really, those numbers are not a coincidence, that there's some reason for that. And then, on the flip side, if there is degradation, a lot of times that will be related to, either some kind of a penalty or spam filter issues or deliverability issues. That should be your first sign to start doing some troubleshooting. Now, keep in mind, like, if I send you an email, Sean, like there's a very, very high probability that you're going to open it, right? Like if I just email you and you email me. So, in general, I think that, open rates below 10%, like that's danger. There's something wrong. Like why is 90% of them, not opening it? 20 to 30% open rates, just picking a random metric. That's probably okay. And then, but it should be high. It should, you should be looking for, plus 30% open rates in general.
And obviously segmentation can play a role there. That can be a great way to go after increasing open rates. Segmentation kind of as a topic can be really intimidating for people, and they say, I don't know where to start. So if we think about segmenting specifically with an email, if we just start there, what would be some top level words of advice for people to think about how they might be able to better segment their email list to improve their outcomes?
When it comes to thinking about the segmentations, you probably have like an information architecture on your website, like, this is for agencies, or this is for educators, or this is for, B2B companies. Like there's probably different journeys that you've created on your website for these different segmentations for people to self-select to. The problem is in email marketing, it's like, how do you then know like what email to send them based on those different products that you have or different interests that you serve? And one way of doing that is to look at the user journey and create audience segmentations based on, say, as an example, URLs that are either present or excluded in a user journey. So you could, if you had like a page for teachers, if you were selling like educational products to both parents and teachers, you could in Customers.ai create a segmentations for people whose user journeys included the teacher content, and segment those emails that we capture into one kind of funnel, which would have different messaging than say one going to sell educational toys to parents. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And then when I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about the AI portion of things. So specifically related to Customers.ai, where does that come in? Does it play in with the types of remarketing assets that are served, or what part is being powered by that on your end?
A couple areas. One is like, how the frick do we figure out who these people are visiting your website, and that involves like some sophisticated learning model to power that analysis. But in terms of the emails that we're sending, we can help you, draft the emails based on what pages they visited, and customizing your email templates automatically. And where we're going with this, what we're working on is trying to make it so that every email is unique that gets sent out by reflecting back certain details about your identity into each email. So if we know that Sean lives in a certain area or has certain interests, like a generative AI would make minor customizations, but meaningful enough to be noticed, but not meaningful enough to substantially change the meaning of the outreach. And what we're finding is those little embellishments go a long way in terms of people believing that this is an interesting outreach to respond to versus hitting the spam button and just reporting it.
Is the primary focus then top of funnel efforts? Is that really where you see this benefiting kind of the people that have visited the site that you don't know who they are yet, or does it even extend into people who have seen your ads but you don't know who they are yet?
So I think we are a kind of a middle to top of funnel marketing solution, and I think that's a super important piece of the puzzle here, right? Because all these lucky orange customers are optimizing their checkouts and their conversion events, and that's much more exciting if you have a healthy middle and top of funnel feeding into that, into those conversion funnels. Now, I don't think we're that interesting if you've already managed to sell someone, like you already know who that person is because they've already bought the thing, right? They've already bought your e-commerce product or whatever. But the conversion rates for these stores could be, what would you say, Sean, like mid to high single digits?
Sure, yeah.
Typically like 5, 6, 7, 8%. That tells me, 80, 90, 95% of folks who did spend the money and time to click on your ads or to engage with your content to check out the products. They were, not exactly top of funnel. I would say top of funnel is like where you do ads to people who have certain interests and stuff like this. Like this is actually a really interesting segment. Like they visited your website. So what the heck were they doing there? That means they've heard of you. It also means that they're in market, right? For the products and services that the company's selling. So that in of itself is a very high predictor of future commerce activity. Like the highest predictor of whether or not you're going to buy something is actually, I don't know if you know this, it's whether or not you've heard of them before. Okay.
Right.
So this is like a middle of funnel area to focus on. And I think it's the most leveraged area in marketing, meaning it's so much easier to focus. The problem is you're going to be constrained by volume. Okay. It's generally the case that there's more people who haven't heard of a business than have heard of the business. But if you have people who have heard of you and are in market, let's focus on that first, because it's like the low hanging fruit. And then once that's completely pressed and squeezed, you then kind of expand your targeting and marketing to go up market, not up market, higher hanging fruit, using these more, broader interest-based, marketing campaigns and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting way to look at it, because when we talk about website optimization as Lucky Orange, those are, potentially even lower hanging fruit opportunities where you're not even trying to get into somebody's inbox. You're just trying to change the way they interact with the page, the content on the page, and really squeeze out as much of the CRO, the portion of CRO that exists on the site. But we do know, and anybody listening who's a Lucky Orange customer knows, is that that's not the only place where they can make gains. They have a whole entire other funnel where these people are existing in the real world, whether they're existing and hitting their brand touch points or they're just out shopping on competitors or whatever it is. As soon as somebody understands and recognizes who you are as a brand, it's time to take action and it's time to figure out who they are. And that feels like a huge opportunity for a lot of people, especially as, the challenges and the pressures on business continue to grow with whether it's their marketing budget or algorithm changes or anything like that. If somebody is aware of you, you need to do everything you can to figure out who they are. So then what would you say are some common issues that people bring when they come to Customers AI? Is it really just saying, look, we know people are out there and finding us, but we're not able to capture them and capitalize on them? Are there any specific problems and issues that they come and say, we need the help of Customers AI to solve?
There's a couple of use cases. One is like getting more from their ads. Right. So like, these ads aren't cheap anymore. They could, it could be like $3, $4, $5 a click. And if you have single digit conversion rates, it means that there's a lot of people who kind of raise their hands, were interested, but didn't do the thing that you were hoping for them to do. And so if we can ID, an extra 20, 25% of those people, it gives you another shot at, doing the thing that you were hoping for them to do, like buy your products and services. And so that could be, you could take an action like adding them to a remarketing audience, or you could take an action like sending them an email, or like we also work with like non-e-commerce stores. Like sometimes it like B2B companies might, look them up on LinkedIn and call them. Like there's because we ID not only the emails but also other identifiers like even mailing address. Like I just talked to a B2C company that wants to send out a postcards to the teachers who check out their educational products, and so we have that kind of capability to map different types of actions to different types of segmentations.
What would you say to somebody who says, look, I just want to focus on my website. I'm not sure that there's even opportunity for my email program to improve right now?
That does seem a little fatalistic. Like unless you're like an Amazon or something, there's probably room for improvement. One of the reasons why people kind of fall on the lower side of those benchmarks, Sean, is just list fatigue. Okay, meaning like your interest in a product or service isn't like constant across like forever. It kind of peaks initially, and for every day that you're on this newsletter list, it goes down a little bit. Okay, like it's rare that you have more excitement 2 years from now than you did when you were first interested in this product or service. And so one of the core issues that I see is that people keep old leads or suspects on their newsletter a little too long, where they're afraid to cut, these non-engaging emails from the list. Okay. Why? Well, because they feel insecure about cutting their list. They feel like, I spent so much money to acquire these emails. I dare not cut these subscribers. But what they don't understand is it's not really helping them, because like in order to get good deliverability, you have to have a list with a lot of engaged people. So it's kind of like dead weight that kind of pulls down the average of deliverability, which then reduces deliverability because it's kind of like a feedback loop. Yeah, are you following me here?
Right. Yeah.
And so what I think one of the interesting things that Customers AI does is it can really generate a crap ton of new blood to put onto your website. So like if your website does 10,000 visitors a day, like we can provide 2,000 new subscribers a day. Okay. And maybe it's like by having this new influx of new suspects and leads to put into the email list, that people then feel comfortable to then cut kind of the dead parts of the list. And so it's kind of it's like a blood transfusion. You're kind of getting rid of some of the dead old stuff and giving it a shot of new life. Are you following
Right.
me here?
Yeah, absolutely. Not to mention, even there's some efficiency to be had within managing your email program. I mean, I imagine spam plays a role there in that equation, the spam reports and versus unsubscribes. Do you have any recommendations, just kind of off the top of your head, around offering people to stay on the list, or do you just generally take them off the list and recommend people clean house without even giving that kind of last chance offer?
Oh, I think that this has changed significantly. The best practices have changed significantly this month
Hmm.
versus prior to this month. Like there's a new maximum spam complaint range of 0.3%. A complaint is not an unsubscribe. A complaint is when someone hits the complaint button. And you know, you as a result, you want to make it like so that if they are even thinking about unsubscribing, you want to get them the heck out of there as fast as you can, so that you don't risk them hitting the spam button. Like all this shenanigans around like making it hard to find the unsubscribe
Mm.
button, or like when you hit an unsubscribe, it says like, which of these 10 things do you want to
Right.
unsubscribe from? And it's
Yeah.
like, no,
Yeah.
I want to unsubscribe from all of them. Like
Don't trick me.
you just have to like, it's now a risk. Like if you don't, it's a hot potato. You got to get rid of it. You got to get them off. You got to suppress them, because the rest of your list is at risk, which is a far greater concern than keeping an individual subscriber.
What do you think are some indicators of churn risk then when you look at a list? Is it a lack of opens? Is it opens and a lack of clicks, or is there something else that you would tell people when somebody exhibits this set of behaviors, you might want to consider taking them out?
Um, so the risk of complaints is highest on a new email into your CRM or email program, email service provider. So right, because the first email, you're going to get a lot of positive and negative engagement, right? Like people who are very excited about this thing and people who want to just take me off your list, right?
Right.
The second email that you send out, it's going to be a little dampened. It's going to be slightly less positive engagement and slightly less negative engagement. Okay. So really in steady state, the complaint rate has a lot to do with the ratio of old emails in your list versus new emails in your list.
Got it.
And as long as that's in balance, like it's rare that someone after like 2 years of getting your email is just going to is going to report you as spam. Like, come
Hmm.
on, you've been getting my emails for 2 years, right? You'll just hit the unsubscribe button, which is not a spam complaint. It's the risk of spam complaints is usually kind of on the onboarding of new emails.
Yeah. When I was in a previous role, I was involved in the insurance brokerage and insurance lead distribution world. And one thing that we did that I thought was interesting is that we actually delayed the first phone call to a new lead that came in, because it made it feel more realistic, as opposed to the person submits the form and then their phone is ringing within half a second. Is there something similar in email when it comes to somebody who thinks that they might be anonymous to your brand, getting that first email from you? Is there a similar thing where you say, we need to put a time delay on this, or something that can help maybe get that first open and lower that initial risk of spam complaint?
I think the longer you wait, I mean, you want to wait a little bit because there's a possibility that they're going to just buy the thing kind of organically,
Sure. Yeah.
and no need to like interrupt a sale in process, right? But these web sessions, there is little as like 3, 4, 5 minutes. So I would fear that if you waited too long, then you're actually increasing the risk of these spam complaints. Because like
Mm,
do you even remember what website you were browsing like 24 hours ago? Um,
right.
so like I would put that pretty tight. And another thing, what you can do is you can look at the engagement of that intro email, and in email marketing, it's like uh, less is more, and so uh, you could send a follow up email to people who engaged. So like people who open, clicked, forwarded, replied, and you could maybe ignore the folks who did not engage. And so there's this idea like, I mean, do you follow up with the people who haven't taken an action, or do you follow up with the people who have taken an action? And the answer is it has to be the engagers. Like, you have to do more with the ones that are showing signs of life, uh, and less with the ones that are not showing signs of life, because that's the risk. The risky cohort is the non-engagers.
When it comes to that first email, is there a tipping point with personalization where brands that come to Customers AI say, I think that this is a little bit creepy because we're doing too much personalization, or is there a natural consumer expectation these days that the website, the brand knows what I added to my cart, the brand knows what pages I visited? Is the amount of personalization that's capable and safe changing and evolving, with consumer expectations as time goes on?
I think people's inboxes are overwhelmed with all this commercial solicitation emails, and that you need to be thinking about how the heck are you going to differentiate yourself from all the other vanilla emails being sent out by other vendors, and just the whole creepy argument. Back in the day, I was very aggressive with remarketing ads, and people were saying, "Oh, Larry, your ads are so creepy. They keep remarketing me." But I made them report that. That means
Right.
that means I'm top of mind. I just think I think you need to customize, because the opposite of that is just unremarkable.
Right. You have to break through, you have to cut through, you have to differentiate, and it's okay to be aggressive every now and then. And I do think that we see that with some of our customers, and they're just getting started. They might be a little tentative with their email efforts and say, well, let's hit them with one email and see what happens. But I do think that there's a place to be if you have the data and if you have the supportive tools like Lucky Orange to know what they're doing on your site, or Customers AI to know who they are. You can really go after them and be aggressive without harming your brand and without sacrificing the potential to convert them. Because ultimately, if you do make them angry with the emails you're sending or the pop-ups you're offering on your website, you're not going to get the purchase, but you still have to push and enter the sales, the motion there with the different tools.
That's what I love about this idea of doubling down on user engagement signals. So, rather than sending a 10 email sequence for new visitors, you start with one, and then only the people who engage get the second, and only the people who engage with the second get the third. And that's sort of like, you're giving the clickers more of what they're looking for, and not necessarily bothering the people who aren't interested and who are more likely to complain about something. So like just using engagement as sort of the arbiter of whether or not I should be engaging with them more aggressively or less.
Customers with Customers AI that find the most success, are they stitching in sort of a closed loop report of what's happening, who's purchasing, average order value or whatever it might be? Is that how people are really, really finding success with your platform, is pulling together through integrations or otherwise other data sources beyond open and click?
Open and click are just proxies for engagement. I didn't mean for them to be viewed as like the most important things. A platform like Customers AI can we're practically a CDP here. Like we track every visitor, every click, every scroll, every like you guys, and you can mix and match like any number of conditions, like people who visited this page but didn't visit this page and who stayed for more than 2 minutes. Like you can create any possible user segmentation, and then route them to the most appropriate follow-up, whether it be a welcome email, a welcome back email, or sending them to, say, like, I don't want to email these people. They don't have enough intent. I'm going to send them to a remarketing audience instead. And just make them warm up a little bit and click on one of the ads. And then when they click on one of my ads, then I'm going to notice like you could create an audience of people who started out with low intent, clicked on a Facebook ad, and then ended up on an offer page, and then those people are the people who you could email. So I just think that your question was about like, is it the click? Is it the opens? No, it's about the segmentation and just being granular about having different levels of segmentation for different interests and different levels of intent, and then providing appropriate follow up mechanisms like mapping to different actions.
Yeah. On our end, we've been talking a lot recently about the power of things like heat maps and session recordings for sales teams. And specifically, we have an integration with HubSpot where you can now see on the HubSpot timeline Lucky Orange events, which would basically be linking to a session recording or a heat map to help bolster sales teams to know what content was consumed on the website, maybe more importantly, what content was not consumed. I noticed that Customers AI has a Salesforce integration, and I'm curious if by that integration or by any other way, if you could dive in quickly, kind of how you view the value of this information that you're collecting and pulling together for a sales team.
So for B2B, sales teams is typically a B2B use case where you've got account execs, selling stuff. And, the challenge for those types of people is they need leads. They need people to call. Typically it's like you have an offer page, like sign up for the webinar, but like 2% of people sign up for the webinar and 98% don't. So like, who are all these people that kind of looked at the webinar and didn't sign up for that? Or another challenge would be like, you've got all these people who are in the CRM. Like you've got, an A might have hundreds of accounts assigned to them. Wouldn't it be nice to know that so and so from certain company who is in your target list came back to the pricing page today? So being able to kind of identify at an individual level who the heck is spending time on your pricing page or other high value pages. Those are two use cases. Typically B2B companies, they sell to like an ideal customer persona, like ICP. And so when we provide the visitor information, we also enrich with B2B profile information, including job title, company industry, company size, company revenue, company name, all that stuff, so that not only do you have the individual identity, but also the company firmographics, and they can make a visual determination of whether or not that's someone that would make sense to call back or not. And then through integrations with things like Slack or Salesforce, you can seamlessly have that go to the sellers in a modality that kind of fits their workflow.
All right. Yeah, no, it's so much easier to sell somebody, obviously, when you know who they are and you have information about them, and stitching that together across the website journey and everything else can really be beneficial for that. And I think that that's something that we often see overlooked on our end. When people think of CRO, they think I'm talking about a CRO manager on a team, a conversion rate optimization manager who's looking at heat maps and watching session recordings. But these tools and things that are customer analytics tools, business analytics tools, website analytics tools all play in the same game and are pushing to help teams be more efficient. And we recognize that the challenges on these sales teams and these marketing teams keep mounting and keep changing. But tools like yours and Lucky Orange kind of come through and say, there's a better way to do it.
Yeah, so like even if someone goes through the funnel and Lucky Orange was able to craft an awesome user journey, like you can still figure out like more information about these people. Like maybe they provided like partial information and didn't provide all their mobile number, or they didn't something like that. Like there's an augmentation use case there, and then there it's rare that you'll have like 100% conversion rate, right? It's usually like mid to high single digits. So like it's just giving you additional at bats for the 90+% of people who don't typically fill out forms or buy stuff on the first try.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like the low hanging fruit of like where you would focus your attention, because people who have heard of you and are in market for your product and service would likely be your next customers are going to come from that pile.
Yeah. Well, we all want more customers. I'm curious if there's anything out there right now that you think people aren't paying enough attention to that within the next year and a half, 2 years is going to be a much bigger deal for marketers or on the email side or whatever it might be?
I think that marketers are not ready for the death of third-party cookies. Chrome has been dragging their feet because Chrome is owned by Google, and Google has this like big ad industry uh, going on. But that whole thing is going away in H2, and I think people will be surprised to see like the destruction that that'll cause. In terms of their analytics, in terms of their third-party scripts, etc. And like the opposite of that is like what I'm excited about. It would be kind of what we've been talking about, like visitor identification and remarketing, restoration, cookieless solutions for that to bring that back.
Yeah, the more of your own data that you can own, the better off you're going to be when the hammer drops.
The gestalt of it is that data warehousing was always a kind of a luxury of bigger companies like Walmart's or whatever. But over the last decade and a half, companies like Google and Facebook were actually fighting each other to provide the best possible data and dashboards for their advertisers. But then in the last like 3-4 years, it's completely flipped on its head. Like they're shutting down, they're neutering Google Analytics, they're neutering, People Explorer and Audience Explorer Insights, like all this kind of built-in visibility that we used to take for granted for in the ad platforms is now gone. The pixels that we relied on are now dead. So like I think that the trend here is what you said, first-party data, and that companies need to start, thinking about how to stockpile it and have their own supply of first-party data to power the campaigns, and not assume that like because it used to be just made available for free by platforms. Are you following me here?
Yeah. Well, if that's not on your sheet for 2024 and you're listening to this, get it on there. Start paying attention to the data that you do own and avenues to take advantage of tools that can help you really expand that database. Larry, I really appreciate your jumping on today. Where can people learn more about Customers.ai and follow along with everything that you're out there publishing?
For me, I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter personally. And then, of course, Customers.ai has a ton of blog content that we publish there.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. Thank you so much, Larry. I appreciate you coming on the Lucky Orange Show.
Awesome. Thanks so much.